dignity is exactly as you said, the way you take yourself, how you hold yourself, and more importantly, more than how other people hold you, how you carry and hold yourself. What you think about yourself is more important than what other people think about you. The World Economic Forum basically is a global forum where different leaders of the world, business leaders, political leaders, social leaders, basically congregate to discuss issues confronting this globe. And the World Economic Forum also has a group, it's got leaders, as I said, global leaders, political and business, but it is also people who are somewhat older than yourselves, but younger than the current top global leaders, the current presidents of the world. I think it is important that you're here to get an education. I think you all know that, we all agree. But what is education? You must get the fundamentals. Swahili, English, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology. You must get all those basics. And if you fail to get those fundamentals, you're going nowhere. However, there is more to education than mathematics, English, physics, and chemistry. There's more to it. Okay? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people in this world do mathematics, physics, chemistry, English, but they don't end up in life being what I hope you'll end up being. Because beyond education is yourself. Because your own attitude makes a difference to how other people view you. If you go into the world hesitant about whether you're great or not, whether you can do great things or not, whether you can stand out or not, if you're hesitant, then your image will be equally soft. One of the things that I would like you to come out with is your ambition. How big is your ambition? Okay, and this is connected to dignity, because how you carry yourself, what you think of yourself, determines what kind of goals you're going to go for. The reason the young global leaders want to talk to you people about dignity is to say to all of you that you have the dignity in you to be able to yearn for whatever goal. I want to say that I sat where you are 20 years ago, over 20 years ago actually, and I never thought some of these things would happen. But it's because maybe the role models I had, people who used to come to talk to us, had their own high ambitions, which were high in 1926. And indeed, achieving what they achieved in the 20s and the 30s was great, given the circumstances they faced. But you don't face those circumstances, and I didn't face those circumstances. For you, the world is wide open, but you must go out there with dignity. And so I want Salim, to talk to you about dignity. And I want to say this as I invite him, because and I will ask him to talk about his life. He will. But I want to say that in the 80s, when I was sitting here in the 80s, one of the people who was most famous to our students was somebody called Mohammed Amin. Famous world photographer. In fact, the first time I heard of Mohammed Amin, I didn't realize he was Kenyan. I never thought that Kenyans could be that great, do those kind of things. Some of you maybe are too young to recall some of Mohammed Amin's greatest escapades, like the 84 famine. But sitting where I was, I didn't even realize he was a Kenyan, because he was doing things at a level which was not just Kenyan. He was doing things at a very global level. I didn't know or realize that one day I would be sitting with his son as a fellow young global leader, Salim. But guess what? That's what exactly happened. So I won't say much more, because I think I will let Salim tell his story. So Salim Amin is a young global leader of the World Economic Forum, Kenyan like myself and like yourself.
I'll tell you a little bit about the two short stories about dignity that really changed my life and the way that I did things. One, as Mugo has alluded to, was my father. I'm sure many of you are bored about stories about people's fathers and what they did. His story was very interesting. He was the product of that environment, born here and moved through East Africa as the railway line was being built. But he had very little education, was very poor, so he didn't do very well. He left school when he was 16 years old. Decided that photography somehow, and I still don't know how, got an interest in photography. Realized that he enjoyed taking pictures. He enjoyed telling people's stories using photographs. So pursued that career. Self-taught, never, as I said before, went to school to learn photography or took any lessons in photography. Was completely self-taught. And at the age of 23, was thrown into prison for his troubles in Zanzibar by the KGB for filming the first Soviet presence in Tanzania. They were building a missile base in Tanzania, which they didn't want the rest of the world to know about. And he got pictures of this missile base, and for his troubles was thrown into Kilimamigugu prison, which was at that time one of the most notorious prisons in East Africa. His big story, which again Mugo spoke briefly about, which is the dignity part of the story, was the Ethiopian famine of 1984. Now, a situation in Ethiopia was that 5 million people, I don't know if we can quite understand that concept of 5 million people dying of hunger. So it was a time of great excess. And what he filmed and what he found in Ethiopia in 1984 was millions of people starving. And he spent time in one of the camps in a place called Koram in Ethiopia, where there was possibly about 150,000 people in this camp. It wasn't really a camp, it was just an open plain where they would come and in the hope that they would get food. Now, going back to my father's story, a poor Kenyan boy of Asian origin managed, through his pure persistence and commitment to his profession, to actually change the lives of 5 million people through his pictures, to actually give life back to 5 million people. That is the difference. What Mugo said earlier about the fact that every one of you can make a difference. You don't have to save the lives of 5 million people. You have to change the life of one of the people sitting next to you or somebody that you know. That is what we've been put on this world to do. And with dignity, with understanding your rights, understanding that the basic principles of dignity, that everybody is entitled to a meal a day, that everybody is entitled to an education. And another point that Mugo made, which is very important, is why are we in Africa always seen to be the victims? At some point we have to be seen as the leaders. We'd love to hear from you. That's the end of my spiel. We'd love to hear from you about your thoughts on dignity, on what you would like to do in the future. And thank you. Thank you.
I think dignity is a state where we uphold ourselves to a standard that is acceptable to everyone.
Dignity should be what you think about yourself. You create a sphere of influence whereby all the people behind you can look up to you.
Dignity is the respect you earn that makes other people respect you and makes other people follow what you do in respect to what you do.
It is a sense of self-worth that you find yourself coming to after self-assessment and self-evaluation.